going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Culture 316 podcast. I'm one of your hosts and producers, joined by our other host, Banks. What's going on, Brody?
Hey, the real red man is in the building. I don't know what it is, but as I'm getting older, my hair getting more red. This ain't dye.
Bro, about to turn into Amazing Red, high key. But
Hey,
thank
that's
y'all
crazy.
so much for thank y'all so much for tuning in. Once again, if you're on Apple or Spotify podcast, be sure to like, be sure to give the show 5 stars, be sure to subscribe to the show. If you're on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you
hmm
so much for the support that y'all always show. But we're not going to waste any more time, and we're going to get right into the show, because last night, coming live from Atlanta, we had WWE presents Bad Blood, and there were so many things to talk about to come away with for the show. But I wanted to get your impressions of everything first, Banks, and how you felt about the show overall.
It was a good show. That opening versus Drew versus CM Punk. Hey man, I want to apologize, CM Punk. I wasn't familiar with your game, even though I was. I've been knowing about CM Punk since about 03, 04. But at the same time, I got to get that joke off, and I do have to apologize. I'm always talking about him. You feel me? Saying he old, he washed up. Nah, that match is candidate for match of the year. It might be match of the year. Great storytelling, a lot of blading, and it was great. Drew got too much blading, so now he had to get staples at the top of his head. But see, it was a great example of how you tell a story in a match that comes with violence like that. I'm not a big predicator of, violent matches. I don't like garbage wrestling, even though I grew up watching ECW, but you could still make an art to it. I think
Yeah.
Mankind versus Undertaker at 98 King of the Ring is an example of that, even though a lot of that stuff wasn't supposed to happen. But they still made it art because we're talking about it 26 years later. This Hell in a Cell
Mhm.
match, for it to be the opening, if that would have been the only match they had on the card, that would have been a great way for that would have been a great pay per view. I would have paid my money for that. So that was a good match. Nia versus Bailey. They gave us something a little different. Big Sexy, the real Big Sexy, Nia Jax. Even though, hey, shouts out to Diesel. You know what I mean? Steve. I'm sorry, Steve Nash. Uh,
Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash. Love him. Click this podcast. I listen every week. But that was a good match overall. They did something different. Big Sexy. She did the Frankensteiner. So I know Scott Steiner, who was there, was happy. Uh, what else matches? Did Dom versus, or not Dom, but Liv versus
Liv
Rhea
versus
match?
Rhea with Dom. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. I hope that's coming to an end, just like Finn versus Damien, because it was like, hey man, good match. So let me say this: overall, good card, but for us, it's Judgment Day versus Rhea and Damien. I think this need to be it. I felt that way about the Bloodline storyline, so I'll just cut to the main event. I felt like that a year and some change now about the Bloodline stuff, but I don't know if you want to talk about it right now. But when that man came back, I was like, oh no, we can keep this going on to WrestleMania. Only when he evolved, when he got involved earlier this year, I said, all right, cool, let's keep this going on for some time. But then when they started making the Bloodline 2.0, I was like, that's cool, but it ain't the same without The Rock. It's just certain people you have involved in certain stuff that just give it the it factor. When you got one of the biggest draws in Hollywood history, but we still don't even see him like that. It's weird with The Rock because we know this dude numbers. We know he's one of the biggest top 5 draws in Hollywood history, but you'd be like, man, that's The Rock. That's the jabroni beating, pie eating, eyebrow raising, trailblazing. Like when you see him, it's just a rock. And he came back with the final boss with that Rudy Poo ass title. Came through, said, "Hey, it's about to get real." And then he said, "Let him know it's about that time. I'm about to get y'all up out of here." And then the IG live afterwards had me rolling. Shouts out to Seahawk. He said, "This is how you know the Rock Black." He went on IG live after he did a move. First of all, he was drunk as hell. But what's new? He always be drunk. Like I tell people, I'm like, damn, he stayed drunk. But no, he was drunk as hell. You could tell because how he was cutting a promo. But the fact that he was enamored under alcohol and still cutting a promo lets you know, bro. Some people just
They just
got
act
it,
like
bro.
that.
Pause.
I I think I could kind of piggyback off of those impressions as far as how I felt about Bad Blood. That show was an easy 8.5 out of 10. I think from top to bottom, the card was super solid. First things first, I've been say y'all need to apologize to Phil. Yesterday, kind of confirmed it. What I will say, the cell is back. Hell in a Cell, as we know it to be Hell in a Cell, is back. I think that I think Drew and Punk did a phenomenal job of bringing back the lore of Hell in a Cell and the danger and what it meant to be involved in Hell in a Cell. This was a match that, when it was originally introduced, was something that was supposed to shorten your career. And it's like there was no blood, but like over the last couple years, we didn't really see any blood. We didn't see anything that was super like death defying, but we saw it in this match. And we also saw how much it meant to both of these people, Drew and CM Punk, to be in this match. I love the bead spot at the end when Drew kind of threw all the beads in Punk's face. I think that was amazing. I think that him running into the steps and, Punk winning the way that he did was apropos. But even down to like when Punk was leaving the cage and he couldn't stand on his own. Like, they told a story from when they first entered the cage to when they both got to the back. And I think that attention to detail is something that's admirable. And I think that that's something that a lot of pro wrestlers can learn from, because it's the little things. And especially with this one, this is the first time we've really seen blood at this level during the Triple H era, especially in one of these matches. And I think that they did a really good job of reestablishing how dangerous it is to be involved in a Hell in a Cell match. So there's that. Going from there to the Bailey Nia Jax match, good match, but I think that my highlight was kind of like the Nia Jax sitting up and seeing Tiffany and the referee with the briefcase, because this is a slow burn, right? Like, that could have easily been a Tiffany cash in, but I feel like they're doing a really good job heightening the tension between Nia Jax and Tiffany, so that when the cash in does happen, I think that Tiffany's going to be a face. People are already are enamored by Tiffany. People already like her. I feel like they're kind of just, you know, tugging the tension of this relationship, so that by the time Tiffany actually wins the title, even as a cash in, it has kind of personal meaning and implications, because not only is she winning the title from Nia, she's getting a victory over an abuser. And I think that that's something that's really, really paramount in this entire thing. Going from that, as far as the Judgment Day matches, Damian and Finn was cool. I liked Liv and Rhea. Um, I feel like the way that Raquel came back was sloppy. I felt like the ending of that match, I think what was supposed to happen is that Raquel was supposed to help Liv win, but because the referee saw everything, it didn't make sense for it to kind of like be what it was. So they just, as soon as the ref saw everything happen, they just like made it a DQ, and that was just kind of that. To be completely honest, I'm done with Damien and Finn. I am not necessarily done with the Rhea situation, because I feel like Liv kind of set the tone of what she wanted to do. She wanted to take everything from Rhea Ripley. That's the goal. So she took the title, she took the boyfriend, now she took a former best friend of Rhea. And so now this is a way to keep Rhea Ripley in a main event picture without having her go after the title, which I think was a problem with a lot of former big WWE women superstars, like a Charlotte Flair, where it's like she can only come back if she's only going for a title. But like in this case, you have Rhea feuding with someone who is another large woman who has personal ties to Rhea Ripley, right? And so now this is a way to kind of have a program that has championship implications without Rhea having to go for the title. So I think it's smart that Rhea stays kind of in this rhythm. Um, Going from there into Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns and Cody versus Solo and Jacob. I really, really loved this match. I loved the return of Jimmy. I felt like something big was about to happen, especially when they had that shot on Solo when he was about to give the spike to Roman, and you saw people in the back like, oh, like you knew that something was about to happen. And I feel like Jimmy's return came at a time. It came at the perfect time because it showed his importance. It showed how valuable he was to Roman. And I love just kind of once again this idea of a slow build of Jimmy coming back into the fold. And then obviously The Rock comes back, doesn't really say anything. He just throws up the 1, 2, 3, gives one of these, and he's out of there. Perfect. It's cryptic. It keeps us guessing. It keeps us wondering, what does that 1, 2, 3 mean? Is there something else coming? Is there something else that's about to happen? Like you said with the whole live after Bad Blood, he cut a promo, but you know, and he said some stuff, but it was one of those you still wanted to know what was about to happen. And so I think that Bad Blood was a really, 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 really good premium live event. It also set a bunch of records, which we'll get into in the next segment. But yeah, man, I think Bad Blood was a great event. I think it was good from top to bottom. But I want to know how y'all feel about Bad Blood 2024. Let us know in the comments below. But the thing that has a lot of us buzzing isn't just the event, but rather the press conference afterwards. Triple H was, obviously talking about the multiple records that Bad Blood had gotten, including largest gate of a domestic event, um, and all that and all that. But he was also asked about Black representation when it comes to WWE, as when it comes to these premium live events. And he infamously says, I don't see color, I see talent. So I wanted to know how you felt about these comments and what do you think that it meant and all this other stuff. I have a whole thing, but I want you to go first.
I don't know why people look to people that don't look like you to explain to you why they not putting people that look like you in certain positions. I don't get it. Uh Pro wrestling has always been full of bigotry since forever.
Mm,
Pro wrestling has never really put people of color, or let me say, I can't speak for everybody else as a black man, has never put anybody like us in prominent positions unless it's there to make money. But that's everything. That's the music business, that's acting, etc., etc., etc. That's just how it works. I could say this though, with Vince was there, it was a little bit more people of that look like us in certain positions, as far as getting WWE title shots and on TV more so. Now Tony Atlas said this, and you kind of always have to listen to the old heads because it's something to what they saying. He said Vince don't see color, he see money. I mean, for the most part, it seems to be that way anyway. And I'm not trying to defend Vince, but when you look at the past 30 years or so, you look at people like Kofi Kingston, Bobby Lashley, The Rock, Mark Henry, Booker T, that really got title shots and that were on TV a lot in different programs. Now, the only time you see people on TV is the New Day arguing. Every now and then you see the Street Profits. The women's, they be there, but it's like, and it's not like a ton of WWE black workers anyway. NXT, yeah, but the main roster, it's a handful anyway to begin with, and then besides that, on the roster, it's a handful of people that they use anyway, and it's a lot of workers that's on that roster. So for that person to ask the question, I get it, but I don't get why people think the guy that kind of did a chimpanzee dance in front of Mark Henry in the 90s and kind of did blackface to play the croc back in the 90s said Booker T got nappy hair and he shouldn't win the title and has done other stuff is to go too far as racial racial things that happen in wrestling when he is who he always has been before. I mean, Bret Hart keep telling people anyway. Y'all just want to believe that he's changed because he's in control. Like I'm not a Triple H guy. I don't think he's a great booker. I think he just gives you exactly what you want. That don't make you a great booker. Now, just, again, I'm not trying to defend him, but the dad-in-law understood. Y'all gonna like it. If y'all don't like it, F it. I'm gonna give you what you want. Pause. Well, in his case, probably not. Pause. But yeah, anyhow, it's just the fact of I don't understand why people want Triple H to really be like, yeah, I'm all cool with all colors and stuff like that. Might be some mirrors to what he's saying, but at the same time, a leopard never changed his spots. You feel me? You are who you always gonna be into the end of your life. You just get slower as you age. Nobody, when people say that they changing, that's a lie. You can't change. You just have to become worse or better of a person than you already are. If you're a bad person, you're gonna get worse as you get older. If you're a good person, you're gonna get better as you get older. You are who you're supposed to be, and that's just what it is.
I so this is a very loaded thing for me because I actually like Triple H. I think he is a great booker, and I think that my senses of him being a really good booker is based on what I saw with him in NXT. Mostly because there were times where fans didn't even actually know what they wanted until Hunter actually did it. And I think that the prime example of that was the DIY story with Johnny and Tommaso, right? Like I felt like there were a lot of moments in that story where like we didn't even know what was coming next, and then when we were introduced to it, it was like, "Oh my god, like I didn't even see that coming, but now I want that." Um as far as the as far as the comments on black talent is concerned, I feel like I don't think it's a matter of. First off, let me actually start off by saying this. As a black man who has been in predominantly white environments for the majority of his life, most people that don't look like you are not going to hold the same things important as you do as it pertains to culture, as it pertains to representation. They're not going to, people are naturally not going to see the importance of representation, especially when that has never been a conversation amongst them. We can expect it from other groups of people of color because pretty much everyone at one point in time was underrepresented or misrepresented. The representation conversation is not something that is natural to non-white people. It's something that is not something that is natural to non-colored people, to people that are not of color. So I think that we need to start there. The represent that's something that a lot of people don't really have to talk about because it's natural to them. They always see themselves. So of course, when you ask them why isn't there representation of this group, they're not going to see it. Do I believe that Triple H had good intentions? Yes. However, I do believe because and the reason why I say that is this because when it came down to NXT, Triple H booked a lot of black champions. So we had Keith Lee and we had Isaiah Swerve Strickland and um we had Velveteen Dream. We had all these guys in NXT that Triple H that were black that Triple H put in position to win. And so based on that, I don't think that it's a matter of him not seeing the black talent on the card as much as I don't think he saw where they would fit on this particular card or for a lot of other cards that have happened in the past 4 to 5 months. Quite frankly, because I think that the whole Bobby Lashley departure threw off a lot. I also believe that we're not going to see a lot of black representation when it comes to the men's wrestlers until we see a triple like we haven't seen the black version of a Kevin Owens in the sense of like a a African American wrestler who is a Triple H guy. We have the Seth Rollins and the Kevin Owens and all these other guys. In my opinion, those guys are Triple H guys. We have not seen a black iteration of that. I feel like the moment that we do see that, I feel like is when we're going to see a lot of black representation on the main roster. And I feel like there's a lot of guys that are coming up that have that potential to be that guy. I feel like Tripp Williams has the potential to be that guy. I feel like Obafemi has the potential to be that guy. I feel like Wes Lee, to an extent, has the potential to be that guy when it comes to being on the main roster and being pushed the way that they should be. Um, so, and to be completely honest, like when I was watching the show yesterday, it felt like everything that was there was there. Like everything that needed to be there was there. And I felt like I'd rather sit through a program and be like, okay, all this makes sense than to just kind of force somebody that's black to be on the card. Because like when Vince was putting 13 matches on the card and there were black performers, half the time we were like, this doesn't make sense. Why is it on the card? So I don't think that we should change standards now. And if Hunter were to do the same thing, I feel like we would have said the same thing to him that we would have said to Vince. So I think that that's, for me, it's a purpose thing. And I feel like while I think we should push for representation, uh, I also believe that we need to push what makes sense. And it just sucks because the timing on this is just like, you can't, like, this is Atlanta. This is the Black Mecca. You know what I'm saying? And like, granted, you had Metro there, Lil Baby was there. Obviously, Jade and Naomi were the host. You had Lil Yachty in the suite. So I feel like they understand the importance of Black representation, right? I feel like if they didn't, those references would not have been made. I just feel like it's a matter of Triple H looking to somebody and be like, that's he's my guy. Here we go. I feel like once we get that is when we're going to start seeing a lot more of the representation that we want. But I want to know from y'all how y'all felt about Triple H's press conference remarks. Leave a comment below. But speaking of Triple H, he actually made a very, very interesting announcement during Bad Blood. And that is that next month at Crown Jewel, there will be the first ever Crown Jewel championship and the first ever Crown Jewel champion. In which case, the world champion of Raw is going to go up against the WWE champion, and the women's world champion is going to go up against the WWE women's champion. Neither of those titles will be on the line, but the winner of that match will win the WWE Crown Jewel Championship. And this will be happening in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel. I wanted to know your opinion on the concept. I wanted to know your opinion on this idea of this title.
Hey man, they said AEW be having a lot of belts. They got a lot of belts. Mind you, this is about to be temporary, but still. And let me be clear, I'm not an AEW guy, not a WWE. I'm not a WWE guy. I'm a TNA guy. I'm not getting paid for none of these people. I just state my opinion. All right. So I mean, it's a good concept, but it's like, damn, bro, I'm just gonna get a big ass title. Excuse my language. I'm just about to get a big title and that's it. So I got this big title. What I'm gonna do? I want the crown jewel title in 2024. Okay, you can't get no. What you get with that? You get a discount at the store. You get some WWE shop merch discount. What is that in tune? So I guess it's just bragging rights. I'm trying to think who's the women's champ for Raw.
Liv. So it's gonna be Liv
Oh, okay.
versus Nia.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had to think about it for a second because sometimes that slipped my mind. Like the women's tag title. I'm like, dang, who got that? Oh, Jade and Bianca. I had to see it yesterday. I'm not a sexist to a certain degree. So I didn't know who had the titles, but nah, it's cool. I think it's a good idea. I don't think all these pay per views is a good idea, but they doing all these pay per views and or they call them premiere events. I'm from the old school, y'all, pay per views, so they don't have to do house shows starting next year. Not that many starting next year, which is smart because you turn over an insane amount of profit every pay per view. So that's cool. And then because we know usually with Survivor Series they do this, but obviously they won't be doing it this year because we got War Games and Cody Rhodes gonna be involved in War Games and Gunther probably be sitting at the crib maybe. Uh, they could have actually put that Sammy versus Gunther match for Survivor Series if you wanted him to work during Survivor Series, but I guess he'll probably just Kit Kat at the crib. But by the way, when this comes out really quick, yeah, they about to have an insane like Raw. Pause on that one.
That's a crazy pause, but yes.
That's it. That's crazy. But yeah, this when this comes out, thank you for subscribing. Like, subscribe, all that. Yeah, the Raw tonight when this comes out is about to be insane. This is pay per view worthy, the one coming out. But going back to Crown Jewel and I'll close out. Um, yeah, this cool. We get to see Cody versus Gunther, Liv versus Nia. Yeah, that works for me, I guess.
Personally, so funny thing that you mentioned about Raw, because I actually meant to kind of tackle it just a little bit. I think that people kind of are sleeping on what WWE is doing right now as far as how they're structuring their PLE weekends. right? Because it's not about which show, it's about the spotlight that you're putting on each performer and where they can shine the most. If you have 9, 10 matches on a card and you're only going for X amount of hours, that means you're only going to have X amount of minutes, right? That triple threat ladder match on SmackDown for the tag titles, banger. They would not have been able to tell that story and go that length if they were on Bad Blood. Now they have 2 title matches tonight. You have an Intercontinental title match with Xavier and Jay, and then they have a world title match with Gunter and Sammy, right? Those 2 matches are big matches. Those matches would have been shortened had they happened at Bad Blood. So I think that we need to start reimagining and rethinking what we deem as important and where people are placed on the card, because it's not always about the event in which they're featured on. But if we can give them a 30-minute match on Raw as opposed to a 10-15 on the PLE, that's what's best for both performers. That's what's best for the titles. That's what's best for our overall product, because now you're adding equal value to all of these shows. So now everything becomes must see. Even if, you know what I mean? There was a point in time where, like, you watch the PLE, there's a drop off the night after because we already saw all the matches that we wanted to see. And I could watch a promo on Twitter. I could watch a whatever on X, on Instagram, on TikTok. So now to have 2 main event worthy matches happening the night after your PLE, I think is a genius idea. Moving off of that, when it comes to the Crown Jewel Championship, I think that it is smart because I feel like there was a form of bragging rights that we loved from the Survivor Series War Games couple 3, 4 years ago when we had the NXT versus SmackDown versus Raw. The reality is that while the stuff of it, like events like that are great, when you have that like 3-brand cross promotion and rivalry, the stories of each brand are not going to always be in alignment with this idea of brand rivalry. And so because of that, it's like, okay, you have a separate event where you can have elements of that brand rivalry, right? Without it necessarily interfering with each other's, with like slowing the momentum of stories. So for me, I think it's a really, really good idea. The Crown Jewel Championship almost feels like a Royal Rumble victory. It's valid until the next year, and then it, like, if you're not the champ anymore, you got to surrender that. You know what I mean? I think it's a great idea. Personally, I think it makes for must-see TV, and you don't really know which way it's going to go because people can get involved, right? You have Liv versus Nia, right? So it's like, now does Rhea get involved in that? Does Tiffany cash in during the middle of the match? And now since she wins one title, does she win both? When it comes to Gunter and Cody, it's like ideally you would see Gunter take it. But now with this whole Rock thing at play, is the Rock upset the fact that Roman is affiliated with Cody? And would he get involved in the Cody Gunter match to help Gunter win? Or, you know, does Sammy get involved in a Cody Gunter match? Because tonight on Raw, Gunter just does the unimaginable pause to him and deals with him in a way and does something crazy, and now he wants his lick back. You don't know how this is gonna go. And I think that that's a very, very big I think that's very, very big, and I think that's very, very important when we talk about like pro wrestling programming. So I'm excited. I think I love the concept of it. And I'm very, very eager to see how it turns out. But I want to know how everybody else feels about the Crown Jewel Championship that will be decided at Crown Jewel later this month. But we're going to be moving on. So the next topic, finally, we get an official announcement that AEW is staying with Warner Media. They have signed a multi-year extension. It is rumored that the number is circulating around the 185 million per year number. And that it is a 5-year extension, and that Max will now be hosting AEW pay-per-views at the top of 2025. We're also going to see Max host Collision and Dynamite. We will also see Max host all of AEW's video library. So all of our questions are answered, and AEW is staying with Warner Media. for ideally $185 million a year. That's huge. I want to know how you feel about this.
We've been talking about it for months. I think it's good for them, man. My
Mm-hmm.
fault too, audience. I'm trying to multitask and do a lot of stuff. I'm looking at Jordan Pauls. I'm looking at the game. I'm trying to get these notes in order on this phone. But yeah, we locked in. Otherwise than that, I think it's good. We've been talking about it for months. I'm glad that they got the TV deal. I was wrong. I thought they'd be out of business in 2 years. Apparently they not. And I don't want them to go out of business. Let me be clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Pro wrestling is tough. Get as much money as you can because that's what it's all about, and it's always been that way. It ain't about Uncle Dave giving you a 5 star out of 5 star. It's none of that. It's all about making money like every business because it's a business. You independent contractor, all right, and you putting your body on the line. So make as much money as you can. And we know Tony ain't got no problem paying nobody. So with this TV deal, hell, Chris Jericho might start making $10 million a year. Is he worth that at this point? He a legend, I guess so. Just keep him off the screen. If you keep him off the screen and give him his money, I don't care about that. So this is a good thing. I'm glad they finally about to be on streaming services because, dude, again, watching the pay per view on Bleacher Report is outrageous in 2024. I gotta go on Bleacher Report to watch a pay per view. No, I'm gonna go to the site and break it down. Just like next weekend with the pay per view coming up. Hey, I'll be watching straight on the sites though. Otherwise than that, in closing, just that's good, man. I'm glad that they got that deal. It's no competition between the two companies, but you need that other company. Obviously, with this Hurt Business 2.0 that's about to happen, it's
Yeah.
perfect. Montez. MVP had who talked about Triple H a little while ago or hinted at something going on, and then Bobby Lashley's like, yeah, when Vince was there, it was a little different. I had some motion. Triple H there, I ain't really got no motion. Hey, color or not, Triple H has had a history of hating on people too. He hated on Rene Dupree. He hated on a couple other shit. I forgot who else he hated on. Uh, it was a couple workers he used to hate on, but still, I digress. So he hating on Bobby, that's good. But them going over there, now Shelton, you got these vets. You got these three guys who are veterans. Like shit, they go Chris Jericho, and then them probably is like the oldest workers in the business. So for them to be over there, that means they about to get paid. If not already paid, obviously, if they all there. And I'm always about a black person getting a paper when they doing right. Anybody,
Right.
but I'm gonna speak on my people. When you doing right, yeah. If you ain't doing right, hell no. I ain't support no business. I know that sound coonery, but hey, I can't support all businesses, just like I can't support all white businesses. I wish I didn't have to buy everything from Amazon. You think I want to make a billionaire more billions? No, I just certain stuff
Absolutely
they
not.
got on Amazon. So it's like I can't avoid it. But I'm all for people getting paid. I'll say that. The people that really deserve it. And let me be clear, 99% of workers, even if you hate them, they deserve it. Dog, y'all go take a bump. I've taken many a bumps. Go take a bump. See how you feel. Be like, shit, I need 100 million for doing that. When the air get out your body. Or you trying to do a left turn, like bro, it's not a quarter turn. It's not that easy. So hey man, glad they got their money. Darby, you need to be asking for more money as well. Definitely
Bro.
you. Like you
Bro.
deserve it too. Ricky, you might want to stay there. I understand. You want to go and cook in the E and get pushed, you know what I mean, and pause and what I mean, get that type of shine. But I'll be like, you know what? And I'll say this before I end. Sorry to talk so much, Jordan. Sometimes the grass ain't greener on the other side, brother. That's what I've been learning the past 3 years. We think the grass is green on the side. Nah. Sometimes the grass that you're standing in just need more green. You need to just water a little bit more because the other side might be famishing the land. You feel me? So if I'm him, I'm staying there because you're gonna get paid. You might not work a lot, you might not get booked, but that's fine. Cause you know what? At the end of the day, it's a job. And we all work
Mhm.
jobs. Even if we like it, we can use more money.
Felt that the grass ain't green on the other side is green where you water it. I agree. I think that AEW and as much as like I love WWE and I do like AEW a lot as well, I think we need to kind of stress that ideal that when there is more than one player, the wrestling industry is healthier. It's better for the worker. It's better for the talent. It's better for the audience. There's more places to watch, more things to watch, more places where you can get paid, and more leverage that the talent has when it comes to, deals expiring and what may have you, and the option to go somewhere else. I think it's just better all around. And when you see announcements like this, it brings hope. You know what I mean? Like, I think there was a stat that said 25 or 26 more episodes, Dynamite would have gone longer than than WCW Monday Nitro. So the fact that we have an alternative that's going to be in the landscape of pro wrestling for a little bit, I think is best for the creative climate of pro wrestling, and I think that it's great for the consumer. Um, the fact that everything is on streaming platforms now, especially with Max, I think is huge. I think that that is a very, very big deal. I think that the Peacock deal with WWE showed the importance of having wrestling on a third party streaming service because it increases the visibility of the product. There's people outside of AEW that are not going to subscribe to an AEW network. But if they're subscribed to Max and they see something is going on live, it's, oh, let me check this out. Let's see what's going on. That's how the increased visibility happens. And so now by putting it on Max, you have the potential of increasing the visibility of AEW, which I think is a great, great thing. I'm not going to get super deep into that, but I'm just super grateful that this extension happened. I'm super grateful for the performers, like you said, with the Hurt Syndicate, and seeing Ricochet go over there. I'm just really, really glad that there's just another place for workers. And this gives AEW more time to kind of like develop, and they've had their growing pain, so to speak, over the past 3-4 years. And this gives them time to just kind of figure it out and get back to a place where they're packing out arenas. And I think that they can do it. So I want to know how everybody else feels about the AEW extensions. Let me know. Let us know in the comments below. But we're going to be moving on because this week is AEW Wrestle Dream coming live from Washington. We're going to run through some predictions really, really quickly. First things first, the Ring of Honor World TV title is on the line. Atlantis Jr. versus Brian Cage. Who do you have in this match?
I got to go with Brian Cage because I haven't, with all due respect, I have no idea who Atlantis Jr. is.
I'm going to go with Brian Cage as well. Next, we have Darby Allin versus Brody King. Darby issued an open challenge for Wrestle Dream. I want to know, who do you think is going to win this?
Of course, Darby Allin. He just got to get his nose wiped a couple times in the match, and then he goes over.
I agree. I'm going to go with Darby on that one as well. Next, we have Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Who do you have?
Mark Briscoe. By the way, that promo that Chris Jericho cut, people, that's not cheap heat. Some people was upset about it, dog. It wasn't cheap heat. He didn't say anything disrespectful about that man or his brother. He just said
That's
his
great.
brother is a better worker. Jay was. I love Mark, love him, love the Briscoes, but Jay was better. That wasn't heat. He got it over.
I agree. I don't think that was cheap heat either. And it was also just in alignment with who Chris Jericho is as a character. But I am going to go with Mark Briscoe on that one. Next, TNT title, Jack Perry versus Katsuyori Shibata. Who do you have?
Should be Shibata, but Jack Perry. I got Jack Perry.
I'm going to go with Jack Perry. They have to make this work with Jack. They have to have him go over as many people as possible, because if not, CM Punk left for nothing. Next, for the AEW World Tag Team titles, we have the Young Bucks versus Private Party. Who do you have?
The Bucks of Youth. Dude, I'm just glad Private Party finally getting booked. Hell, they've been with AEW for 5 years. I can count how many times I've seen it in the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna go with Private Party. I feel like over the past month we've seen this kind of character change in Private Party after John Moxley and them broke Isaiah's hand, and I feel like you have to sell the character transformation. If they lose the AEW tag team titles or they lose a shot at it, that character turn is in vain.
That's
So
your,
I feel like Private Party's gonna win.
that's your cousins, right?
Who's Zay and them?
Yeah.
Nah. They from New York, so
They from Long Island. You from Queens, so same
I'm
thing.
from Brooklyn.
Okay, never mind. The joke went bad.
That's probably my fiance's cousins, if anything, because she's from Queens. But next for the triple threat, we have next for the AEW International title, we have Will Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Konosuke Takeshita. Who do you have in this match?
Will Ocean Spray.
I got Takeshita.
Really?
I think Takeshita is gonna win. I think Takeshita is gonna win. I think he's gonna win. I think he's gonna pin Ricochet, and that's gonna be that. And now for the AEW World Title, we have Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley. Who do you have?
Believe it or not, Jon Moxley.
You have Jon Moxley?
I'll say it's based on if Daniel Bryan wants to do. I mean, yeah, that's his guy, so he'll do the job. But I think it's based on solely the story they want to play into Daniel Bryan's retirement, because we definitely could tell now more than ever. We could tell the end is near. Before it was like, nah, bro, you got like another year or two. We could tell him, AJ Styles, they doing one of these numbers. Like, yeah, bro, you could just. It's the writing on the wall. They about to get into Diana Taurasi go home. Like, hey, they gonna put that hand on the shoulder. Like, hey, if you don't want to retire, we might have to make you retire.
I think you're right. I think Moxley's gonna win. I also think we're gonna see Shane McMahon on screen at AEW at Wrestle Dream.
And I'm gonna be in hysterics laughing. Cause wow.
I am as well. I think Shane McMahon is gonna be at Wrestle Dream. Listen, if I'm wrong, I'm gonna eat my words, but
it's fine.
This whole I don't want to do it, but something else is making me do it. This whole idea of an external power kind of having a hand in all of this, and this idea that, we've seen the Young Bucks with Shane, and we've seen Tony with Shane. I think the writing's on the walls with that as well. I think we're going to see Shane McMahon on AEW television,
brother,
and I think it's going to start at Wrestle Dream.
The moment that happens, like, I'm gonna be rolling. I'm gonna be online, but I need that Jim Cornette promo ASAP, because that is about to be all-time hilarity.
All time goated. But that concludes our predictions for Wrestle Dream. Let us know if you disagree or you agree in the comments below. But thanks y'all for tuning in once again. That concludes this week's show. Thank you so much as usual for joining the show, and we'll see y'all next week. The cat
salute all the time.